Hello and welcome to the video version of my journal. I'm Stephanie Rivers. As a former resident of the Washington, D.C. metro area, I've experienced my share of snow and ice. In fact, it's one of the reasons that after living there 14 years, I decided to move to someplace else. So I've sent up a word of thanks because I was nowhere around to experience the recent snow that dumped nearly 3.5 feet of snow from Philadelphia all the way to Virginia. 3 feet of snow, that's waist deep for me, and I'm taller than most people. Most of the businesses in the DC metro area were closed, and even the public transit system was not running for a few days. But does that mean that some essential workers can be excused for not showing up to work? It probably was because they didn't have electricity like most of the millions of others in the area, or they just couldn't dig out their cars. Should they be fired even? Well, at least 10 nurses and 5 support staff from the area hospital have been terminated because they called out during the storm. Now, we're not talking about average everyday slacker employees. We're talking about medical professionals. Chances are, if they said they couldn't make it, they couldn't make it. Even though most people might accept that their trash won't be picked up during a snowstorm, or that the pizza guy can't deliver during a snowstorm, I don't think they would be as forgiving if they showed up to the hospital and there weren't enough nurses because they called out during the snowstorm. As a former TV reporter, I had to be at work even in the worst kinds of weather. In fact, most times I had to report from the eye of the storm, so to speak. Can you imagine turning on your TV only to see color bars because I couldn't make it in that day? The same time that Washington, D.C. was experiencing its blizzard, a Pittsburg man who called 911 10 times and waited 30 hours, he died while waiting for 911 emergency paramedics to show up. It seems the deep snow delayed the ambulances from getting to the man's home, and one report said that a paramedic even called the man telling him that they were only a quarter mile away and he had to walk to them. They didn't bother walking to get him. The sick man didn't drive, and his willing neighbors were unable to dig out their cars from the snow before he died. Now Cleveland Emergency Services have to account for their negligence. When someone called them in his time of need, they weren't there. And snow or no snow, that's inexcusable. As much as it might seem that hospital officials in Washington, D.C. overreacted by terminating the staffers who were no-shows during the snowstorm, it's good to know that someone understands the enormous responsibility that comes with someone in that position. If a snowstorm is forecast, nurses should be prepared to spend the night ahead of the storm so they can make sure that they are at work where they're needed. If it's more important for those types of employees to be at home with their families, then maybe they need to reconsider their line of work. People want the pay and recognition without the hard work and responsibility of the position. In times of a crisis, I don't want to have to ask who's in charge here. I want to know that when I pick up the phone and dial 911, somebody's going to be there in minutes. And when I get to the hospital, somebody's going to be there to take care of me. To find out more about what I care about, go to the written version of my journal at eurweb.com. Thanks, and have a super day.